In today's Story Corner, I'm going to be reading a story that I wrote myself, kind of a young adult thing that I kept in mind a little bit of the monkey's paw as I was writing this. I titled this, Javier'S Christmas Shuttle. Putting all his strength into it, Javier pedaled faster as the cold November wind blew in his face. Plastic cards clipped to the spokes made a constant rat-a-tat-tat. Around the corner was his destination. Braking to a stop, Javier hopped off his ratty old bike, a single speed, once red and black, now faded to a mottled pinkish gray, that had once belonged to his cousin Mark, and leaned it against the wall. Placing hands against the plate glass, he pressed his nose to the cold surface and drank in the sight. In the window, under the fancy lettered sign saying, "Most of the best, some of the rest," there it was, shining silver with blue retractable wings. 3 actual rubber wheels on metal legs that folded up into compartments. Red cylinder at the front with the yellow and orange Astroman logo. Tail fin rising majestically from the back, complete with movable flaps and Jupiter Force Team insignia. 3 conical ports jutted out the back. A battery-powered engine blew warm air out the ports so it would roll on a smooth surface. An Astroman supersonic space shuttle. So close, so awesome, so cool. If only he had the money. If only Dad hadn't got laid off last year. If only... Sighing, the warmth of Javier's breath misted the cold glass. Absently, a finger doodled in the damp cloudiness thus created. A bell jangled behind the counter as Javier opened the door. Mr. Peterson looked up from where he had been dusting a shelf. Noting the identity of his customer, he smiled and returned to his cleaning. Raising one hand in a quick wave at the shopkeeper, Javier moved over to the display window. Wow, it's so awesome, he thought. Reaching out a suddenly clammy palm, he caressed the nose cone. Noting the price tag, he swallowed the lump in his throat. $52, in huge black letters that filled the universe. More money than he would see this whole year. Even if he mowed 5 lawns this week, the money would have to go to pay the electric bill or help with the rent on their rundown 2-bedroom house. $52. Groceries for Mom, Dad, him, and Aunt Tina. Dad, why did you have to get hurt? It's not fair. Bell chimes announced another person entering the store. Looking up, Javier saw a heavy-set older man of at least 40 in a fur-lined jacket hanging open over a silken shirt. Gray pants were creased with those hard lines that meant lots of starch, and his shoes actually gleamed. Here was the type of man who definitely had not been laid off from a job at the paper factory. A man whose kid would get an Astroman supersonic space shuttle for Christmas. Javier lowered his head and left the store, brushing past Mr. Silk Shirt without meeting his eyes. Retrieving his bike from where it languished, Javier mounted it and rode off dispiritedly. Strands of coal-black hair tickled his ears, aggravating their tingling numbness. Shivering, he rubbed a lightly calloused hand, hardened already from the manual labor he underwent in trying to find odd jobs to help the family, against the lobes, causing a slight pain. Gripping the handlebars tightly, he pumped his legs. Long for his 5'5" frame, but with muscular calves built up from constant riding and running common to an active boy, harder to generate body heat. Home was 5 blocks away, and Aunt Tina would be drinking her afternoon tea and waiting for him to arrive. Mom would be serving pie at the diner on 5th and hoping for better tips from the old men who came in for late lunches. Hope Aunt Tina won't need help to the bathroom today, he thought. There he is again, said the man in the brown car. Every day it's the same thing. He wants that toy so bad he can taste it. It's a different world at that age. That it is, said the man in the passenger seat. Your entire future depends on something as silly as a toy. Simpler times, I suppose, but not necessarily easier. It hurts to want something that badly and know you can't have it. Nodding agreement, the first man rubbed a hand across a forehead made longer by a retreating widow's peak. Staring thoughtfully out the grimy windshield, he watched until the bike turned the corner 2 blocks down. Sighing, he gingerly climbed from the vehicle, ignoring the twinge of pain that shot out from his left knee. 1 more week. Pick me up in 2 hours, Mitch. Checking for traffic, he crossed to Peterson's store. 1 more week till Christmas, thought Javier as he pedaled home. At least I'll have ham and apple pie. Maybe even ice cream. Maybe Bobby can even spend the night. At the chime, Mr. Peterson looked up from where he had just replaced a sweater on the now dust-free shelf. Placing one hand in the small of his back, the tall shopkeeper stretched, trying to relieve the knot of pain that seemed to have moved in for the duration. Nodding towards the back corner, he said, "Afternoon. Room's over there. Don't forget to mop out the back room tonight." "Sure thing." After an eternity, the final bell rang, and Javier grabbed his book bag. Weaving his way through the throng, he made his way rapidly out to the bike cage. "Hey, Javier, what's up?" Glancing over his shoulder, he saw Tom Carey leaning against the chain link. Tom was wearing a shiny red and black zip-up jacket with a gold spider embossed on the chest. Javier remembered seeing that jacket in the Sears book priced at $75.95. "What's up, Tom?" "Guess what my old man gave me for my birthday?" A premonition flickered across Javier's mind. He knew what the boy was going to say. Closing his eyes tightly for just a second, he took a calming breath. "What was it?" "An Astroman supersonic space shuttle." "Bet you don't have one," he said, his eyes sweeping up and down scornfully to take in Javier's ripped jeans, ratty old tennis shoes, and cheap hoodie. Clenching teeth over a suddenly taut jaw, Javier said, "That's great. And no, I don't have one." The rat-a-tat-tat of the cards in his spokes soon covered the ringing laughter that followed his retreat. "I will get that shuttle. I will." Walking up to the crackling brick-faced doorway of the 19th century building which housed Peterson's, Javier shook his head to clear away the remnant-echoing tones of Tom's laughter. With a sigh of exasperated longing, he pulled open the door and stepped onto the dazzlingly waxed terrazzo floor, just in time remembering to first scrape the dirt from his worn brown Adidas. Mom was always getting on him about wiping his shoes. Javier's eyes swept over the cherry-stained wooden shelves lining the brick walls, taking in the board games and toys neatly stacked there. He couldn't help but smile as he spotted a set of Rock'em Sock'em robots like he had gotten last year. "Yeah, Tom, I'll knock your block off." "Hello, Javier. How are you today?" "Fine, Mr. Peterson," the boy said. Pushing the jacket back from his head, he walked over to the display window. There it was. "Tom Carey gets one. Why not me?" "Almost to the big day, isn't it?" "Huh? What?" said Javier, his reverie interrupted. Turning, he met the grinning shopkeeper's bemused gaze. Mr. Peterson's hazel eyes were warm as they met the boy's in a direct way. Unlike most adults who just looked through kids, Javier had always thought that, unlike some old men whose wrinkled faces made them kind of scary-looking, Mr. Peterson's lined face was actually kind of interesting. It had what Dad would call character. There were laugh lines around his thin lips, and the crow's feet around his eyes actually seemed to be friendly crinkles. An errant breeze, a lost remnant which had missed escaping through the recently closed door, caused Mr. Peterson's full head of mostly gray hair to flutter slightly. Javier had once heard his dad mention that he wished he could have kept a full head of hair to such an age. "Christmas. It's tomorrow, you know," the shopkeeper said with a grin. "Oh, yeah. Yes, sir, it is." "I hope you get something really awesome." "Thank you, sir." Turning back, heart in his throat, Javier didn't notice the bemused smile on Mr. Peterson's weathered face as he went to assist a customer. When Javier's bicycle turned the corner out of sight, the man in the brown car once again walked across the street. "Good afternoon, Mr. Romano," the store owner greeted his temporary employee. "Last day for this, I guess." "Yep. By the way, I sure appreciate you giving me some extra work there." "No problem. He's a good boy, you know." "Yes, he is. The best." Silvery eyebrows lifted in query, Mr. Peterson asked, "Is that a new coat? I haven't seen you wear it before." Looking down at the brand-new winter coat he wore, Mr. Romano ran an absent hand over the woolen smoothness, enjoying the slight crackle of static electricity that raised the hairs on his forearm. "Yes, actually. It's a present from my brother-in-law. Just got it today. The scarf, too." "They're very nice. The brown is a good color for you." "Thank you." Mr. Romano picked up the broom and began sweeping the floor, ignoring the twinges in his injured left leg. After a quick dinner of mac and cheese and hot dogs, Javier decided to return to Peterson's. Mom wouldn't know he had delayed cleaning his room for just an hour. Besides, he would probably be back before she even got there. Aunt Tina, sipping on chamomile and watching the soap opera channel, merely said, "Be back in an hour," as the door closed behind him. "Okay, Aunt Tina," he threw back over his shoulder as he jumped from the step. Heart beating a tattoo on his chest, Javier once more approached the display. The glass was sparkling in the setting sun, and an errant beam of light speared Javier's eyes, causing him to blink rapidly. Mr. Peterson must have just cleaned the window. Tomorrow was Christmas Day, and his Astroman supersonic space shuttle was here. Walking up to the window, he pressed his face to the cold smoothness. Wait, something's wrong. Where is it? His shuttle was gone. Wiping away the cloud where his breath had fogged the window, Javier peered inside. Mr. Peterson was at the counter about to wrap something for a customer. It was his shuttle. Stunned, Javier watched disbelievingly as Mr. Peterson taped the box closed and wrapped it in red crepe. As the boy watched, a card was taped onto the box and a blue ribbon tied around it. My Astroman Supersonic Space Shuttle. Javier's throat clenched as a fist circled his heart and squeezed. Angrily, he jerked his frame away from the storefront. Grabbing his bike, he pulled it around the corner of the store, fighting the urge to simultaneously cry and hit something. That's my shuttle. He can't have it. Javier ducked back out of sight when the man came out of the store, the box cradled in his arms. The customer was bundled up with a scarf covering the bottom of his face. Fleetingly, the distraught boy noticed that both the scarf and long coat appeared brand new. Rich snob. My dad could use a new jacket like that instead of that ratty old one he wears all the time. It's just not fair. Not stopping to think, Javier jumped on his bike. Riding up next to the man, Javier skidded his bike and, pretending to lose control, laid it down on the sidewalk right at the stranger's feet. Stumbling, the shuttle thief fell against the wall. Quick as a fox, Javier grabbed the present, jumped on his bicycle, and took off. Mr. Peterson, seeing Mr. Romano lying on the sidewalk, rushed out. The man who had slept his fours for 2 weeks to earn that shuttle wasn't moving, and blood trickled down his forehead. He didn't appear to be breathing. I can't believe I did that, thought Javier. Holy crap, it's mine. How do I explain it? Should I take it back? But, oh man. Pulling breathlessly into his yard, he dropped the bike on the ground, once again forgetting his dad's admonition to always use the kickstand. Darting his head left and right, he checked to see if anybody was watching. Next door, old Mrs. Turner was watering her brown grass. As usual, she was still wearing her ratty pink housecoat and tattered bunny slippers. Avoiding eye contact, Javier turned to glance at his own front window. A red pleated curtain blocked his view of the interior of the fading beige house. An errant thought of his dad telling him he was going to have to help him paint this summer flitted across his mind. Please let Aunt Tina be busy. Tucking the box under his arm, he wiped his suddenly clammy hand on his torn jeans and opened the front door. The slight warp in the frame caused by too much humidity and too little maintenance caused a creak to be emitted. Pausing, he listened for any response. Good. Aunt Tina's in the bedroom. Thankful for his luck, he darted into his bedroom and plopped onto the sloppily made twin-sized bed. For a moment, he just stared at the box perched on his lap, heart pounding. Finally, after about 30 seconds of working up his nerve, Javier removed the card. He opened the envelope. Merry Christmas was on the front of the card, over a picture of Santa Claus riding a rocket ship. Opening the card, he scanned it quickly, then disbelievingly, once again, more slowly. Merry Christmas, Javier. May you get all you deserve. Love, Dad, was printed in recognizable handwriting. A synapse misfired, causing a nervous tick to twitch under his suddenly misty eyes. His rapid pulse beat a staccato rhythm in his neck. Startled, he gave a guilty jump at the discordant jangle of the telephone. Javier, it's your Uncle Mitch, came Aunt Tina's smoky, raspy voice. There's been an accident. It's your dad. He's dead. Rocking back on his heels, his mind spinning in a whirl of torment, Javier lifted his head and let loose a primal scream. The present for which Javier Romano had yearned so long slid forgotten to the floor to land in a broken heap at his feet. And that would be the end of Javier's Shuttle. I hope you enjoyed it. It is one that I wrote myself, and you can watch this on YouTube, and you can visit my channel there. The name is Andrew McDonald. Have a good day. Thank you.